not many that I want to put in my mouth.
Ooh, Sunnyside.
You think?
Oh, yeah. Actually, there's a. Although, come
you.
on, they're known for whoopie pies.
Oh, no,
come on.
No, they're not.
Come
No,
on.
I will disagree.
Listen, I'm rocking my Green Dragon mark cut this morning.
I am telling you right now, you go to
Sunnyside
Sunnyside at Green Dragon or the one out in Terry Hill, just south of Terry
Yeah,
Hill.
yeah.
And get the glazed cream-filled donut holes. And I will
Donut
tell
holes?
you, yes, and
Okay,
I
I
will
haven't
tell
had
you,
that before.
I will tell you, you will freak out. my mom's
this is
birthday,
a
my mom's
local pro
birthday
tip
is this
right now.
weekend. And I asked her, I was like, well, what do you want us to bring, for the she's like, ooh, just bring those glazed cream-filled donut holes from Sunnyside for dessert.
challenging.
Are you
Accepted.
kidding me?
I'm like, you don't want a cheesecake? You don't want a regular cake? You don't want like anything else? She's
Donut
like,
holes.
nope, donut holes.
What?
Okay, I'm
So-
pretty excited about this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Holy
awesome.
cow. Yeah, I was always like whoopie pies.
It's-
It was like the whoopie pie king.
No, it's like it's a little
Get out of
a little
here.
love
secret in my mind. Yeah,
I love it.
Yep.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Homeology podcast, a weekly conversation with your HVAC team here at Vertex Mechanical. We're glad you've taken a few moments as part of your day to laugh with us, maybe learn something new, and be inspired. Welcome back to the Homeology podcast. This is season 3, and we're really glad to be here. I'm JV, and over there is...
I'm Vince.
And we have a very special guest today, Mr. Rich McKee, world famous Rich McKee. World famous, like the world famous donut holes that you just discussed.
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. And for season 3, we're taking some time this year to really highlight the joy of Lancaster County, northern Lancaster County. And Rich happens to be a guy that I really admire. And we can geek out over some fun stuff that we're going to talk about here this morning. Vince, you've known Rich much longer than I have.
Oh, I don't know about much longer, but definitely longer. I mean,
Yeah.
we're going a couple years here now.
4 years, probably.
But it feels like forever. You're like one of those guys that you feel like you knew forever when you get to know you.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of history in a little bit of time. Right?
That's
true.
right.
And then I learned that Rich and I shared some history that goes way back, and we're really stoked about that. We won't mention any names today, but we got some shared history, which is really exciting. But anyway, we wanted to bring Rich on today to kind of help kick off this season 3, and we're really excited because every episode you're going to get to meet some of our fans and partners throughout this region, including the mug that I'm using today. But Rich, to try to define who you are and what you do would be difficult for me to encapsulate in a small sentence because you reach many spheres. So why don't you tell us a little bit about even your role first with the Northern Lancaster County Chamber of Commerce, which you are an ambassador of.
Correct. Yeah. So the role of an ambassador is just I'm kind of a co-chair, they call it. But I've invited a lot of people out to the chamber, and I just know a lot of people too. So I'm always constantly networking, and with what I do for my day job, I have certain requirements to meet in reference to meetings throughout the week. So for me to meet local businesses, centers of influence, and so and I love to just connect good people to good people. Yeah. So going to the Northern Lancaster Chamber and those events, I find myself being I don't know what you'll call it, the hype man. Right.
That's
when I walk
there
into
you
the
go.
room
Yeah.
and when I go to the events. So
I get excited when I show up at the events. I'm like, there's Rich. Without question, he will introduce me to somebody new today. And I'm an introvert, so I'm very grateful for individuals like you who help kind of me cross some of those bridges. And the Northern Chamber is celebrating a big year.
Yes. 100 years.
100 years as a Chamber of Commerce, which is exciting. There's a number of events that are going on for that. But maybe you could elaborate. Here, Vertex sits very much on the northern part of the county. It's only a couple miles till we make it to Berks. But what, in your opinion, makes this region unique to other business regions in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, good question. So I would say there's a lot of conservative tones in Lancaster County, which I appreciate. Right, the family values, the historic traditional roots of religious base and freedoms there. So that's one part of it.
Yeah.
But it's almost as though like everybody, if you don't own a business of your own, you know somebody that does.
Yeah, right.
And it's almost like a recession-proof kind of economy here.
Yeah.
There's always something going on. I mean, great example in the pandemic. There were road signs everywhere, and you could buy 100 masks if you wanted to.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody's mom was making them.
That's
right.
right.
So if you were out of cash for something, like just make some masks.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Be intuitive, be creative, use your network, and so I rarely see even with the past couple of years that things actually, I would say, damaged Lancaster County or parts of Berks County. There was none of that.
Yeah.
Maybe some businesses, some industries, but no, it just makes it so special. It is really community focused. People really stick out for each other, and and I appreciate that.
Vince, you have often talked about how the HVAC industry is a little recession proof because it's an ongoing demand.
Right.
But maybe to your point, Rich, our community has that kind of insulation almost across all industries to a degree, all sectors, because of that community, because of the ingenuity and innovation. Now, Vince, you've been operating out of this part of the county for the last 40 years almost. We're coming up on an anniversary celebration in there. What would you have to add to that, commentary about the northern end?
Well, I even people I know, I mean, just to your point, I mean, if things aren't going well, people just seem to want to go and get it done. It doesn't matter. Nobody seems to be really satisfied with just letting things set, just let things happen. It's like, no, we're going to keep things moving. And you just see that mentality. I don't know if it's the farmer mentality or what, but hey, the crops have to get in. They have to get harvested. We got to do this stuff.
So there's like a shared work ethic to a degree, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So speaking of work ethic, Rich, you've described yourself as a culture fanatic, right? And so Rich and I were sitting beside each other at a recent dialogue around economic kind of situations globally, nationally, locally, and I was kind of saying, hey, I love these numbers and stuff. But before that, there was a dialogue about culture, and I leaned over and said, hey, I really geek out on this stuff. This is fun. He's like, and you said, I geek out on the culture stuff.
Yep.
So can you help define what your passion is about that and how it came into you? Because certainly culture around here is a big deal, intrinsically, extrinsically, both.
Yeah, so honestly, it stems way back, and I'd almost want to attribute it. It sounds kind of really wild, but high school football.
Really?
Like the culture of a locker room.
And where did you play high school football?
Lancaster Catholic. Don't hold that against me. But there was a unique culture that was built all around, just like pride in the school, what we represented, our work ethic on the practice field. And so there were some things there that were kind of built into me. And then as things kind of evolved, again, I got involved into a bunch of different, I would say, subcultures, right, of society. I partied a little bit too much in college. That was one. And then I outgrew that one. Yeah. Thank goodness. And then
started adulting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Congratulations. Hashtag adulting, right? That's a big motto these days. And then found myself really following my faith, and got involved in some of these different organizations, different I would say churches, church affiliated groups, and really started to identify that there are fascinating I would say I'll just call it like nuggets of society, right? And they function in a different way. Yeah. And sometimes it's dictated by the leader or the lack of a leader.
Truth.
Right. Yeah, and then about, I would say 10 years ago, I started working for an organization that all they did was culture assessments and consulting. And, I found myself doing like front end sales and then becoming a sales manager, traveling and presenting in front of some fairly large organizations across the U.S. talking about collaboration in the workplace. And there's a lot of themes that are out there today when it comes to culture in the workplace. And I say some of it is almost like mispositioned. And I won't get into it today because I'll ruffle some feathers. But trust me, I really want to ruffle feathers.
Can we talk about that when I turn the camera off?
Absolutely. Yeah. Or feel free to connect with me because there are some pains today in what's being pushed out and what a workplace culture should be versus identifying what is it right now and maintaining that or weeding certain things out. And I love that element of just getting nitty gritty with the leadership.
Yeah. We will often talk about how it's not really difficult to implement something new, meaning some new catchphrase, some new cultural, I don't know, hot word, hot topic. It's very difficult to maintain that and continue the ongoing development and growth of that. And so when you get in nitty gritty with leaders, how do you start to discuss about, hey, like this comes with the cost of doing this well?
It's touchy. I'll just put it that way. Yeah. Well, now here's the thing. In my current role today with what I do, I'm selling technology that can support a good culture.
Sure.
But also it can help organizations kind of dive in to understand what's not right with the culture.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's a shame too that a lot of organizations don't leverage some of these tools.
Yeah.
So, doing an assessment or doing performance reviews with employees and capturing some of the themes. And then
Sure.
the key is taking action.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, that's where I spend a lot of the time is,
Yeah,
and hey, if
absolutely.
you identify something, you have to put a game plan in and be
Yeah.
willing to actually,
Yeah,
it could be painful.
Vince will vouch for the fact that we have that type of conversation constantly. How once you have clarity about something, congratulations, now you can be responsible for it. And then after responsibility, we use this catchphrase of accountability, which
word.
I think is one of the most devalued words in business, because accountability without consequences is entirely worthless. And but then consequences kind of has this derogatory tone. It doesn't have to be, because consequences can be all the benefits and fruit that comes from the healthy behaviors.
That's right.
And so Vince, we've been talking about this for a while, haven't we?
Forever.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
but it's a big deal, isn't it?
It's adulting.
It is adulting.
There you go.
It's
Let's
true
go back to
adulting.
it.
Lovely
That's
word.
the topic today, apparently.
Yes. Well, the topic was
Oh,
donut
sorry.
holes,
Sorry, there was, yeah.
That's true.
which is part of adulting.
It
It's like
is.
it's
It is.
maturing with
yes.
acknowledging there are certain donuts that should not be.
Fine, delicate, and taste. That's what it's all about.
But I had one of those
Delicate.
questions on here for you. I had a question which was name one of your favorite Lancaster County vendors or food items, which you kind of already did.
Done.
Okay, so there's no others.
No. And
Wow.
if you didn't
You
hear,
so
I'll
set this
mention
bar up. You know what that means.
Sunnyside pastries. You
I mean,
gotta
it's
check
sort
it
of
out.
like you
Yep.
just set
Yep.
this up. I
Yeah.
mean, it's better be outside.
He's
I don't
not
get
a
paid
paid
royalties
endorser. I
either.
was going to say, you're not a paid endorser. But,
I wish I would.
oh my goodness. Maybe one or two more questions here for you. You were talking about adulting, which is kind of fun, and you are one now.
Yes.
What do you wish your youthful Rich McKee would have learned earlier in life? Because you're sharing some really valuable things today, and you're sharing that with other business leaders. If there's one or two things, like, I wish someone would have shared this with me. I wish I would have learned this earlier in business. It would have had a huge impact. What are one or two of those things?
Oh, well, I'll be honest to say that one thing that I did learn earlier that I think I had an advantage is my parents really instilled that people weren't strangers. Go up and introduce yourself. And as soon as you find out who they are, it's Mr. and Mrs. And you're saying hello, and of course, be quiet.
Did you do that in your community, in your town?
I mean, we did everywhere we went, just family, friends. Again, that got me out of that whole bubble of just isolation of fear. And I think that we shouldn't live in fear, and I think that's a big principle there. But one of the things that I wish would have been something instilled a lot earlier was just principles around finances. Right.
Sure.
And the more biblical you can get on it, the better, because there's always a better return.
Good word.
It's just really something that organizing your finances, being a giver, and understanding what that means, and where to sow money. Right. I was told, this was later on in life, but in my I would say late 20s, that every dollar is a foot soldier.
Oh, wow.
Right. And you put it out into battle for you. And I was like, wait a second. I'm 29 years old. This is crazy. I should have heard this when I was a little child.
That's so
and
true.
it was such a basic message for me. It's either going to go out and bless somebody and come back, or it's going to be something that's actually building something for me. So these are the principles that I think we should be teaching kids.
Yeah,
right?
that's so good.
Very simple.
Yeah, they are. But that's really, again, I'm grateful for you sharing it now, because someone's going to listen to this and hear it for the first time. Right. So thank you. Vince, again, you've known Rich for a couple of years. I'm going to put you on the spot here for a minute. What's maybe one of the things that you've grown to value about Rich McKee most?
Well, first of all, he's one of those guys that, again, when you walk into the room, you just want to go say hi.
Yeah.
And there's something about that you want to become.
Yeah.
You want to, it's like, how do you do that? And it's like, and so I always kind of watch your mannerisms, how you walk around the room, how you actually talk to people, engage people. And I have a lot of, I admire that a lot, because I love that aspect. I wish I was better at that. Sure. And it's one of those things that I even, I would say that I'm in a learning aspect of that in my own life.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, thanks. I think Rich is he's a professional people person.
Yes,
right.
there you
I mean,
go.
you're professional. But you're a people person. You're oriented around you use the word blessing a lot. I love that, around individuals being blessed, which means they're walking worthy of their callings and being equipped even with the tools to do that. Yeah. And then ultimately seeing transformation individually and organizationally and corporately. And so I just really value that about who you are. That oozes out of you, right? Some people it's a core value. They say that, but like it's a lot of work. For you, it oozes out of your very being. And I just
appreciate that.
So grateful for that. So here's what I'd love for you to do. I'm going to put Rich's LinkedIn profile here, and would love for you to connect with Rich if you think that you might be able to grow in some of the tools that he has. He's an incredibly valuable member of our community up here. I'm grateful to be his friend, and thank you for being here with us today. And I
appreciate it.
Yeah,
this is great.
It is awesome. We'll look forward to doing it again sometime, and I will look forward to trying some of those donut holes.
Yeah. Do it. Don't hold back.
Friday's only a few days away.
Friday's. That's exactly right. I didn't even know they existed, which is kind of a shame. I had no idea that cream-filled donut holes were out.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks for joining us on the Homeology podcast. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week when we have another special guest with us. Take care.
All right. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks again for joining us today. As always, we hope you enjoyed your time with us and you'll return again next week. And if you need to get a hold of us, just visit vertex-mechanical.com to call or email.